Okay, all right. Great. So I'm wondering if if we've checked that the videos are being uploaded to YouTube. I have not checked myself, but actually I just thought of it because we started the recording. But the recording should be going to YouTube, so if at any moment you would prefer to not have your video on for this reason, then yeah, that's just a heads up. I would, but I am not at my usual location, so I think I'll be hosting today's meeting, and well, for the notes we have Christina, but if anyone else would like to volunteer, that's also okay. If anyone would be open to it. If not, I guess Christina, is that okay?
Yeah, if anyone would like, you're very much welcome to do so. If no one feels like it, I can do the notes.
Cool. And otherwise, add yourself to the attendees list, please, and so that we can start today's meeting. A reminder that this is a CNCF meeting, so the code of conduct applies, which can be summarized to everyone be excellent to each other, as Leo says. I think we are all familiar faces, so we don't need to go through introductions. We have some updates. And also, while we chat, feel free to add any topic to the agenda at the end of the list. Otherwise, we'll go through things one by one. The Equinix infrastructure is now in place. Thank you for unblocking this, Leo. We now have the next thing that we need to kind of sort out, which is, yeah, access control management. That is, if anyone has any ideas around this, you are very welcome to chime in. But it is, yeah, actually, I don't know, Christina or Leo, if you've had time to think about this. I have not since we last spoke.
I think Leo probably shared some thoughts. I am not familiar with the process of access control when it comes to Equinix at all, to be honest. So I have no idea what are the possibilities there. So if someone has experience with it from before and knows how this works or knows who to ask, that would be of huge help.
I have a contact at Equinix. Oh, sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sorry. Awesome.
I have a contact at Equinix that I can contact, but I think that yeah, I'm not sure. Ross, what do you think?
Yeah, I was just wondering.
Oh, sorry, Ross.
Yep, I've unmuted now. Yes, I've used Equinix a bit. They have this project concept. I think people will be added into the project. One thing I was wondering was how other projects are managing it. For example, I often use like Equinix to create like temporary clusters if I want to work with Kepler or Scaphandra. But usually I just use the cluster API provider and just create the like temporary clusters. I'm not sure if we want to do something different to have like cluster upgrades for kind of day 2 kind of stuff. Maybe there's other projects already using Equinix. It would be good to know, what tooling they're using.
I think I've seen cluster API used with Equinix as well. That was my experience with it. That would be great. That way we have infrastructure as code, and we can, yeah, with cluster API we can have open open source the infrastructure and get things on a repo, on the tooling repo that we have.
Yes, that'd be great if we could have the manifest kind of in the tooling repo. And yeah, the cluster API providers worked pretty well for me. I mean, it might be worth just double checking, how other people are doing it, but I think cluster API, could be a good approach.
So to take this a step further, would the idea be like we have in the tooling repo that we have, which is also the next update, we have a repo now, yay. Also thanks Leo for helping to bootstrap. Which means we can have PR, we could work on a PR to create the configuration for a minimal cluster API thing. Actually, Ross, since you also have experience with this, I'm wondering, could we start something on the design doc? So we can talk about this here. Community cluster, we need access control. And we could write something here. Sorry, this is very drafty.
Yes, yeah, I could do a bit of investigating and try and kind of expand that out. But I think if we could start maybe with the cluster API configuration, and then maybe something just to install Kepler just to verify that REPL and everything's working, everything is as it should be. But I can investigate a bit that and try and flesh out a bit.
Sounds great. Maybe we want to rename this to yeah. So I'll capture this. So the aim would be to have the configuration of the cluster on the tooling repository. Would it help? Maybe we can, Ross, if you'd like to create a sort of POC or help to write this section, that would be great. And I can also help out with this and maybe ping someone else. I have a great colleague, ex-colleague at Equinix, and I'm sure she could be very helpful. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds great, and it would be great, if she could review it as well. I can create maybe a PR, in the repository with just like a proposal for how we could do it. But yeah, I'm happy to explore there and see how we can do that.
Yeah, sounds good. Oh, this is what we had here. So I'll just leave this as is. Amazing. Does anyone have any other ideas, suggestions, things that they would like to point out?
I think we can add. I have added an action item to add Ross to that infrastructure access because you probably don't have it. So I just put it as an action item for us to follow up on.
Okay.
Because you
Did you
don't
add
have
this?
access right now, right, Ross?
Yes, I don't have access right now. I think
Mhm.
maybe just Max has access, or and I think it's changed since the press was created.
Yeah, I added this
Yeah,
access control section. It's mentioned in the issue as well,
you're
so that
right.
we have
Yeah.
some place to put it, to put this description.
So for now, what we have as access is we did individually add or request access, and then we get access to the whole Equinix project, I believe. However, this doesn't scale. Like, I think it's a very arbitrary process of who has access. It's a little bit based on, if someone wants to contribute. I think Ross, it would be fine if you have access. I don't see why not. But then once we have the cluster, we can then have more fine-grained control of access to the cluster itself.
Yes, yeah, and
So
sorry, Nick,
yeah,
I'm happy to sort of propose something how it could look, but probably don't have access right now. Maybe we can review the kind of approach, and then we can see, when it makes sense to grant access. I guess the only thing that would be useful would be to know from the project what kind of instances we got. I think probably we would have got some reserved machines, but it just would be useful to know what type of machines they are.
yeah.
Yeah, I think it was probably Euros who was asking on the issue regarding the VM, the machine types as well, because Kepler had some specific requirements, or REPL had some specific requirements, but I think we never got feedback on that actually. So we will need to check what we got in terms of configuration on the machines.
Yes, because also
Yeah.
if I know what type of machines there are, I can also just do like a prototype with my own account and get everything working. And then we don't need to set up the access kind of right now. It would just be useful to know what type of machines we got.
Mm.
In here, does it make sense to have one part about the infrastructure itself, the community cluster, and then here is the pipeline implementation. So we have, for example, this. And then we have the, metrics and community contributions. Metrics, we're still very far from this, although it does matter for this section, the community contribution. And yeah, we'll get there. Actually, in the agenda, we have this as a point. So perhaps we can talk a little bit about the repo itself. I mean, we already have an action for cluster API to open a PR and work on that. I don't think that there's anything else that Ross, obviously, if access is an issue, let us know.
Yeah, so we'll do that. I think I should be able to propose a PR and then we can just discuss from there.
Yeah. Falco. So members from Falco will join upcoming meetings. Christina, would you like to take this point?
Yeah, I think Do you have the link there? Yeah, I don't know if we probably don't need to open up the discussion because it's quite long. But on the GitHub issue for we have for the Falco being the first project that we would collaborate with, we have had a dialogue with members of the Falco team. So they're we realized that it would be good to have members from the Falco team also present during some of the meetings we have so that we could get some feedback in an efficient way from them for regarding the information we may need about Falco when we start working on the implementation itself, and also right now while we are gathering an understanding of what metrics and data we need to measure in the tool. But everyone is busy and so is their team. Therefore, they would like to, if they are to be present in the meeting, so that we could have it in an efficient manner, so that we could have questions that are not covered by the documentation of the Falco tool itself. So I initially proposed if they could join today, but since the last meeting, I think everyone was busy, so we didn't get to look into the questions we need to ask them that much yet. So we are trying to, I asked them if we could have some way of having like a contact point where we could align on which meetings we would need them to be present in, and so that we have prepared accordingly so that they, if they are present, that this could be efficient. So this is something we need to think about in the group, how we are going to do that so that we don't cause any frustration on both sides, kind of. So if you have some thoughts or suggestions on how we could do it in an efficient manner, it would be very much appreciated. So I can add the link once again to that GitHub issue. At least if we can try to aim to get some of the questions we need their input on for the next working group meeting, because then we could give them a concrete date when we would like them to join. But if you have any thoughts or comments on this, that would be highly appreciated. Let's see, I'll find the link.
So if we can, if you have the link, that would be great. Because we did outline quite a few questions. Thank you. So the following issue contains, oh, no. So we have all of these points already. Like, these are the questions that we have.
Yeah, and I think there is like an extensive reply there from the Falco team where they link to the documentation. So I think that would also require some work on our side to actually go through that before we could make these questions more concrete, I think. From what I could understand, at least.
And this is where, like, I guess thinking of long term, this is where we could have what we talked about, sustainability reviewer. That could be a role where people could volunteer to review projects in an official manner, like in an official role. But anyway, yes, we should start, like, kick these things off and see how this would look anyway.
I'm just wondering how we should do it as a group, like who would take or who would take responsibility, because that's quite a lot of data to go through from what I can see. And I think we need to find a way that we could do it in a good manner, so that not one person would need to go through this. And I think everyone who would like to be working on the implementation would probably also need to get some understanding of the tool.
Yeah. At the core, it is to run Falco. Well, looking at this, we would need to be able to run Falco on our infrastructure, right? So that's one part. We are blocked there because we first need to bootstrap the cluster, but we're working on that. The next part would be to run load tests based on Falco. So write potentially K6 tests about Falco itself. And a third part is to establish the software boundary and the functional units of Falco, and this would inform the K6 tests. And this is more of a theoretical question, I guess, which requires a really good knowledge of Falco itself. So I guess those are the three parts I see. To summarize it, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that makes sense, splitting it up. So I mean, when it comes to bootstrapping the cluster and doing where we don't need input. Okay, I think Leo has some comments in the chat. He probably can't speak, but yeah, I don't think we need to understand Falco in depth like you mentioned, Leo, but I guess we would need to have some understanding. Otherwise, how would we be able to measure anything if we don't know anything about the tool? You would need to have some kind of foundational knowledge. Otherwise, we would require Falco team to explain the basics, and they don't want that. That's why they are linking to the documentation. But maybe I am misunderstanding here as well.
So it's also, a question of who writes the test, right? Is it us or is it the Falco maintainers? I think what the question would, we can work together and ask the Falco maintainers what would be the simplest reconciliation or the simplest thing that Falco can do, and to help us write the K6 test around that.
Yes, I think having like a simpler functional unit to start with might be the best way to go. And maybe, the Falco so they can suggest that, and then we can kind of iterate on it. Because I think that defining the functional unit is kind of one of the hardest parts here. And until we get more experience, it's going to be harder kind of at the start.
Yeah.
So maybe an action point can be here to go through this overview that they have presented on the issue. And I think there was also a question regarding the functional unit, and I think they need to understand more what the functional unit is. So we could, for example, come with a follow-up question based on what we think could be a functional unit for Falco, and then they can, yeah, we want to learn more so that we can be helpful.
Yeah.
So maybe this is something we can discuss with them for the next meeting, for example, that we could first provide an introduction to them, to one of the members or who will join from Falco next time, present what a functional unit is and what a software boundary is and what we think it may be in Falco, and then see what, if they were able to understand it, can come with some feedback on that.
Yeah. And in I think, well, so if we can take a moment to discuss like the functional unit. I'm happy to look through Falco documentation. I haven't used it. I would be happy to look at, based on my understanding of functional units and the software boundary, try to come back next time with my suggestion or a proposal of what I think it might be. Maybe it's worth if a few of us try to do this, and then we can come back and discuss and come to a conclusion, because a functional unit is also a very subjective thing. So if we can all try to do this, then we can all be more informed next time. What do we think? Oh, but also, Leo, you said, why do we need to have a better understanding of Falco? Like, we are a little bit stuck here in terms of who is going to do it. Like, is it, we have the knowledge of functional units and software boundaries, and they have the knowledge of Falco. So like, who will do it?
Mm.
So I think if we can propose something on the function unit and try and keep it kind of simple for a start, that way we can also kind of work more on the end-to-end process. But I think I could easily see us kind of iterating on that. And when we get feedback from Falco, we might want to make it more complex later on. But for a start, I think if we can do something kind of simple, then we can also validate like, the other parts of the process.
Yeah. Like here we asked if they can help us with finding the functional units, but maybe it's saying it that way is not clear. I think we could come up with a description of the functional unit and then specific questions about it that we can share with project maintainers who may not be familiar with the STI specification, so that we can refine our process of like harvesting that information.
Yeah, we can try, we can start by, for example, if we get the time, if we get the time from the until the next meeting, we can also add this information and ask them directly on the issue as well, because they're following that. So if we can come with a description in the written form instead of waiting for the next meeting, for example, we can start there. try to describe it in a written form. If it's still confusing, then I would encourage them to join one of the meetings so that we can provide explanation in more detail for them to understand it. It's not always as easy to write it. That's just my reflection.
It's a tough one, but I will definitely try to look into it, just for the sake of time. Oh, if we can, yeah, add a little bit here. We can, yeah, expand the question around here. In the interest of time, sorry, I meant to look into the other issues that we have as well.
Just to say as well, I'm also happy to help kind of with reviewing that once you've had a look. I haven't looked at Falco either, so there's not sure how much I can help there, but happy to be kind of a sounding board as well. If that's useful. Because I think also if we can kind of propose something to the Falco team as well, I think it'll also be clearer than for them to have like an example, and then they can kind of point out, how we can maybe iterate on it.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you, Christina, for opening this issue. I think this will be on the backlog for a while we try to focus on the first project. I wonder if we could have a form for the maintainers to fill out with like specific questions. That could
Like
help
that we could
the
have on the
process.
website or like just link it in the issue or something?
Like, I mean, maybe it doesn't have to be a form, but more of a set of questions. But yeah, like again, it doesn't have to be a form, but it could be, yeah, we need to make a list of questions that we can send to maintainers and they can fill out themselves. I think that would be the end goal. And what else? These are the goals. I'm not sure. I believe Leo added them, or Christina, do you know? Did you add those, or was it Leo?
Yeah, there was one, so I tried to come with some suggestions before the meeting today, just to have some kind of draft. So this is something that I hope the group together can also adjust according to our common expectations. So nothing is set in stone here, obviously. This is just a approximate draft.
Oh, so let's go through it. We're going to announce the working group and try to get contributors to contribute. That would be really great. draft of the implementation for the sustainability footprint measurement workflow. Right. So yes, hopefully. I guess we're doing one thing at a time, so if we can get there by then, that would be wonderful. Yeah. Early 24 sounds like a good deadline for this. Present the implementation as part of the maintainer track. Yeah, those are that would be wonderful. And beta version, yeah, production level testing of measurements, workflow, and first stats published publicly. Yeah, at some point in 24. That sounds good. I think we can remove the question marks, and at least this is a list of what we do, what we want to be doing. I would say that we want to reproduce workflow with next CNCF projects at some point around this time as well. Sorry, I just need to do something. Ah, okay. So we are focusing on two tracks. To summarize, we're focusing on two things for the next meeting. One is the cluster API configuration to unblock, to start building the infrastructure around there, and that Ross and I will discuss. And the second part is familiarizing ourselves with Falco so that we can have a conversation about the functional unit, but we want to scale this, so we will make sure we can have better questions for the maintainers so that they can help us help them. Is that a good summary? Did I miss anything?
No, I don't think so. Regarding, sorry, Ross, yeah.
Sorry, I was going to say that that sounds good from my side. I think I can propose something in time for the next meeting. And the thing is that I probably don't need access right now. Just need to know what type of machines there are, and then I can put that in the design. So I can ping either in the issue just to find out what type of machines we got, and then propose something that we can discuss in the next meeting.
Sounds good. I'm not sure if you're aware, Nikki, but you're muted in case you are saying anything.
No, I'm thinking. Sorry, I'm quite tired. We have PromCon tomorrow. and I have to prepare for my talk.
Oh.
Sorry, I was distracted for a second. Yeah.
But that sounds good. One thing regarding the goals, I think Leo asked if we should have an issue for the goals or if we can just, I think we have added them to the doc. Maybe that would just be enough to post it in Slack and to encourage folks if they have any feedback or suggestions to that, maybe, so they can add it in the doc.
Yeah,
What do
well,
you think?
I think that's a good idea. I was not clear on, having another issue. I'm conscious of like issue sprawl. Like if we have tracking issues, rather than put the information in the design doc directly, I feel like it's good to have the issues to discuss. But I really would like, I guess maybe those are separate issues. I would like to encourage more engagement with the design doc itself and to have conversations there so that they can be in the doc and we can track things there. But also no issue with having, yeah, to create an issue about it. We can do that as well. Yeah, we can just create the issue. It's fine. And if anyone wants to contribute to the design doc, please feel free to add your thoughts, suggestions, comments, questions. That would be great. All right, well, I guess we can, I don't know, we don't have to stay on the call longer if there are no other things. I feel like we've gone through what we need to do. Sorry, I'm not very good at leading the meeting today. I feel like because I
That's
don't have
fine.
a lot of energy. Also from the train journey, there were a lot of cancellations and delays, and so it was a very long journey. So I apologize. But thank you for joining today. And yeah, we're slowly hacking away, and it's really great to see that we're ticking boxes as we go. And now we have a repo and we have an Equinix project, which we didn't before. So every meeting we have something more, and that's really, really wonderful. So thank you for joining the call today, and see you at the next one. Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.